So before we move forward, I just want to quickly show you guys two main functions that you want to keep in mind, and considering the fact that this tutorial is for beginners. So let's just say you have a shape right here and you want to add some texture or some shading to the shape, and you just go ahead and pick up any brush to add the texture or the shade. But what happens is when you do it, when you add some texture, it actually spills out of the shape. So to avoid that, what we do is we enable alpha lock onto the layer so that the texture or the shading or whatever it is stays in the shape. Now the same thing happens when we create clipping mask above the layer. So we create a new layer, we add clipping mask to it, and what it does, it actually performs the same function, but the purpose of adding clipping mask is to keep your texture separate from the base layer, so that if you mess it up, you can actually go ahead and clean that up. I hope that makes sense. So just keep this in mind while we're gonna draw these little human illustrations. So yeah, I'm just gonna start off by picking up this brush called Script from Calligraphy brush set. Now if you're using any other software, just don't worry about the brushes, you use whatever brush you like. So here I just created this really random kind of shape which is gonna represent the face for the illustration, and I also created this really elongated neck as well with the skin color that I wanted to use for the face. So as these are stylized illustrations, the shape of the face doesn't really matter and doesn't have to be according to the anatomy of the human face. So yeah, it can be anything. You can just draw any shape for this one, because these illustrations are going to come out really cute and really neat and clean. So the first step is, again, to create shape. So I didn't fill up the neck because I wanted to add shadow right underneath the face later on. So I'll be filling it up later on. Now I created another layer right underneath the layer where we created the shape for the face. Now I'm picking up dark brown color. Here I'm gonna create a shape for the hair. Again, the shape and everything totally depends on you and what you like and what you don't like. So just be really random about it, because it's gonna be like a practice illustration for you. So now I'm just gonna go back to the layer where I created the face and the neck, and I'm just gonna enable alpha lock. Not yet, because I wanna also see where I'm gonna add shadow right underneath the face. So I realized that this is the exact same point where I'll be adding the shadow for underneath the face. So I just filled it up with the skin color. I enabled alpha lock, and then I went ahead and picked up this dark skin color, and I added this little shadow right underneath the face so that we can separate the face from the neck. And I did the same thing on the ear as well. I just created this little line right where the shape of the face is meeting the shape of the ear. So that's how you want to do it. We are not going to be worrying about blending these shadows out, because this is like a completely different style of illustration, so you don't really have to do that. So yeah, that was the second step. Now I'm going to create a new layer and add clipping mask to it. Now you can do it on this similar layer where you have the face and the neck by enabling alpha lock, but I did it on the separate layer so that if I mess it up later on, I can actually fix it without having to reconstruct the whole face again. So I started drawing eyebrows, eyes, nose, and the mouth. And for eyes, nose, and the mouth, I used black color. Again, for eyes, nose, and mouth, and also for the eyebrows, the shape of those totally depends on you. So do not really worry about it. Be really candid, be really random about it. Just experiment and see what looks the best. Now I'm just gonna go back to the layer where we have the face. Now here I'm just gonna add some color on the nose, and also I'm gonna create little circles which is just gonna represent blush. So again, as we're not really blending things out here, you can just really go ahead and be free with your shapes. Just use little shapes to add color to any shape you want to add color to. Now I'm going to go back to the layer where we created hair, and I'm going to pick up black color, and this is not black exactly, it's like a maroonish, dark maroonish kind of color. And I started adding these hair strokes, which are also kind of spinning out of the hair shape, which I actually did intentionally because it just looked good this way. So you can just do whatever you feel like doing, but or else you can just follow my tutorial. Then I just created a group of all the layers, and I duplicated the group. Now in the next group, I'll be turning this male illustration to a female illustration, and I'm just going to show you guys how you can do it without having to entirely draw everything from scratch. So once you have this duplicated layer, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the face and the facial features. And the good thing about painting digitally is that we have a lot of tools here that we can use just to simplify the whole art process. Whereas if we were doing this on a paper, this would have been a much complex process, and we would have to create the female illustration from scratch. So that's a really good part about digital art. So yeah, here I just went ahead and just erased the mouth because it was too masculine, and I drew these little lips for this female illustration. So again, it depends on you. It also depends if you're using some reference for the illustration, then you can just go ahead and go with the reference if this is like your first illustration. If not, you can just experiment with anything and everything that you like. So I not only changed the shape of the lips, I also started filling those in with pink color, just because it's like a female illustration. So yeah, that's what I did right here. And then what I did is I erased the hair, and what I did is I created another hairstyle for the female illustration. And I was really random about the female illustration. I just went ahead and started experimenting just to see what looks good and what does not look good. So I just created this really short kind of hairstyle for the female illustration. I'm just gonna kind of fast forward this because the process is similar. I'm just going to fill in the shape and just going to add black hair strokes, which are going to spill out the shape just to make it look much cuter. I don't know how to explain this. So as you guys can see, I also added some hair strokes over the face as well because it just looked cute that way. So when I'm painting or creating some female illustration, I make sure that the nose is closer to the mouth. For some reason it just looks feminine, and so what I did is I picked up this selection tool. I selected the nose and I shifted it downwards, and I also shifted the shade that the nose had downwards. It is really easy. You just have to be on the layer where you want to shift, or where the so let's just say I wanted to shift the nose. So I had this layer where I have outlines for the nose, eyes, and the mouth. I selected selection tool and I selected the nose with freehand, and I shifted it downwards. I just shifted them downwards and just created this little space between the eyes and the eyebrows, and I also added little eyelashes as well and a little crease line as well, just to make it look more feminine. Now you can see the difference between both the faces. You can see how even with the similar shape of the face, one is looking really feminine and one is looking really masculine. So yeah, I just did nothing. I just experimented with the facial features, and I also shifted the blush downwards a little bit, and it looked good to me. So yeah, that's how you create simple illustrations with just shapes, different shapes on Procreate or any other software. And you can just do it on any other software. It doesn't have to be Procreate. And I will give links to all the tutorials, all the beginner tutorials that you should watch before even getting started with Procreate or digital art down in the description. So go ahead and check that out. And if you do create this out of this tutorial, the exact same illustration, then do tag me on Instagram. I would love to see that. Other than that, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And as you guys can see here, I also just shortened the neck a little bit because I don't know, I just felt that just looked more feminine this way. So again, it's all about experimentation. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any suggestion that you want me to do a video on, do leave that down in the comment section below. Other than that, I will see you guys in my next tutorial.